late.
Right, we're
Hi
on.
guys.
Hello.
We've just had the worst time in the world. Neither of us. We needed IT support.
Yeah. So apologies for a bit late.
Dear me.
We had a bit of a technical issue, and yeah, perfect. We're getting everything now since we're actually live. So
I mean, the last couple of weeks, it's been a bit nerve-wracking. Neither one of us are video internet people. None of us. I don't even take photos of myself these days. So, so for this week to then, I don't know if we have been live already. If we're not, and it's only just started, fantastic, because you haven't seen how completely confused we've been. But we're now live. We're 5 minutes late, so here we go. Hi there to everybody revisiting. You'll be familiar with. I'm Nathan. This is Matt. With the detailing team at Premier Group, and for the last couple of videos, as nerve-wracking as it has been, we're going to combat our nerves this time, I think. We've been discussing a couple of different processes, things that you could do at home to maintain your paintwork, keep things looking tip-top. Best ways to remove contaminants was the last video.
Yep. Safe washing, first one, then decontamination.
Yeah. Today we've decided to discuss all things paint correction. I say all things paint correction. We're gonna try and summarise and break it down as simply as possible. There's a lot of people out there that understand how it works, and for those of you that perhaps don't, then this hopefully will explain it to you.
Yeah, bit of an introductory insight to paint correction.
It is, I have to say, probably one of the most exciting and therapeutic things that I've done.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I wanted to pursue it as a career. And I mean, before we start out as well, I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to thank a couple of people. First and foremost, our Lord and Saviour, Phil Ashley, is for opening the doors to us and letting us in the first place. We've worked closely with people who've worked with paint for many years before either one of us have ever even delved into the trade at all, and they've helped teach us things that you can't really teach yourself quickly. Anyway, is probably the best way to put it. You'd make mistakes and question why they've happened, whereas I feel like we've had so many advantages with the opportunity to work at Premier Group.
The advantages of working, close alongside with John and Wayne from the paint team is that, sometimes mistakes happen, or you're having trouble identifying a fault in the paint, the lacquer, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's good to have those
resprays, stuff like that. Things that first and foremost, when you're going to be correcting paintwork, you're going to be looking around the paint for defects, which we'll move on to shortly. But by working closely with people who've been painting cars and know paint and have known paint for a long time, we can now identify things on a whole new level, and it's been a great experience, and I've loved every second of my career so far with Premier Group. So yeah, shall we move into
finish with the shout outs and thank yous to everyone. So the first thing, just to explain to everyone, is what is paint correction. It might be a term that people have heard before, it might be a new term, you might have heard it just now from us on this video.
Sometimes it might be summarised by the word detailed, detailing, polishing
essentially what it is. So what is it? Essentially what you're doing is you're restoring or enhancing the paint to give the utmost clarity, the best finish possible for your vehicle, whether this be a car, a bike, boats, anything. If it's painted, you can correct it, as they call it, really. So do you want to show that example that we just got?
Actually that's a good place to start. So if your paintwork resembles anything like on the, obviously
it's not going to be too clear.
It's not the clearest, but this is a job that we've done recently. But half of the bonnet there is what some paint will look like over time, whether it be oxidation, whether it be scratches and swirls in the paint.
Mainly,
there's a lot of examples of what defects are, and as you can see in the photo, I'll show you again. Paint correction is what we've achieved
from this side.
on the other side. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. So when it comes to polishing paint, some people may have come across, like say, swirls and things on there as well. And the best way to kind of describe it, we'll kind of go into more detail in a second. We'll kind of use an example here. If you think of like sanding, a piece of wood, you have like a lower grit, which will be taking off the most defects possible, and you go for a finer and finer level to refine that. Basically, that's what you're doing with paint correction through the polishing process. But again, we'll explain that just more in a second. The main thing is what are we looking for to warrant paint correction? So that good example from the image of that Volvo that we just had. So one more time to bring it back up, just so people know.
If I zoom in a little bit closer,
it's a bit glary.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But there you can see from my side of the phone here, the paint's very clear, nice kind of crisp, fresh finish. But from obviously that side there, you can see like it's lighting up. There's swirls, holograms might be called, and other things are kind of inflicted them from.
Next time, can we bring a panel up instead?
That'd be much easier. Hold a bonnet up, or a small test piece maybe. With that one.
So what? Yeah. So what are we looking for? What are you looking for to warrant the need or the desire to improve the way your paint looks? Can you improve the way your paint looks? So we've already brought up scratches, swirls. You've got oxidation, just
faded paint,
faded paint work. Yeah.
So everyone's kind of seen that car down the street, usually a pink Corsa.
I was going to say
red at one point. Red cars are actually the worst for it because well, trying to sound too scientific and saying the
I don't really know how the best way to explain it is, but I think they're affected.
Red literally just absorbs UV more, and it just ruins it more than the next colour. It's just something to do with how red is on the scale of things. Defects in paint.
One of the defects is this, I think this one is another one of those. It's in the eye of the beholder, really, and it's what we call orange peel. And as Matt pointed out before we went live, we have a perfect example of this on our fancy new backboard here. So the texture that you can see there, that is distorting the reflection, that is what if it was paint, that is what we would refer to as orange peel.
Yeah.
And it's one of those,
as it says on the tin,
one of those,
it
as it
looks
says
like
on the
the
tin,
skin
things.
of an orange. You know, it's not smooth, it's textured, it's got cracks and all kinds of things like
and
that.
Some people consider these a defect because they're after a
glass mirror finish. You know, as you can see, for example, the reflection's not as sharp as it can be. You know, so if you're that guy, as some people do or detailers do, they take a selfie in the paint. You might look back at that photo, and rather than having like a lovely sharp edge, you'll see it's, you know, a bit wavy or something, and not quite as clear as it should be. So that is kind of what I think some people would refer to as going to the extreme of detail.
Perfectionist. It's something I want it. I bought a black car recently, and black's probably the best colour for reflection, in my opinion. And to have it absolutely crystal clear and perfect is what I'm hoping to achieve over time with it, anyway. But yeah, orange peel. Like we've said, some people consider it a defect, whereas others might consider it to be
a factory finish.
It's a factory finish, so it's how the paint actually was
laid and sprayed, basically.
Laid, sprayed, and that's how it looks. So the defects that I think we're going to discuss today, just to kind of keep things simple, if we can, without babbling on about anything too much, are
swirl marks,
swirl marks and scratches, just to cover both, because both are more or less they are the same thing.
A swirl is basically a very light scratch. That's the way to describe it, isn't it? So yeah, how do we do this? What do we do? So we should have actually brought a machine up to hold it up. We did show one in the first video. We would use a dual action polisher, as they're known as,
or a rotary, which is a single rotation. I think this is something that we might, if we're going to go into detail about different machines and their uses, then maybe that's something for a different video.
Maybe a live demonstration.
But just for today's example, if you imagine the products and pads that we're going to demonstrate, show you in a moment.
In a second,
if you imagine that those are spinning on a single axis machine, which is what we call a rotary or a mop in the trade. So how do we remove scratches and swirls from the paintwork?
Might want to mention stages first.
Absolutely, that's a good point. There you go. Nerves kicking in again, lads.
So we had Ross asked, I think it was in the last video, about stages of paint correction. We give a very brief explanation on this before moving on, so we had to end the video. Single stage, 2 stage, 3 stage, there's loads of words people use, and they can all vary slightly on what is the surface you're working on, you know, how hard or soft the paint is, the condition of it,
how deep are the
defects, is it a clear coat over the top, or is it an older paint, which is what we call single stage paint, or 2-pack, or whatever the word is for it, where it's not essentially a lacquer over it, it's just colour. So just to give a brief explanation of, for example, say we're doing what we call a 3-stage polish. This is starting with a heavy polish, going to a medium to refine it, and finishing with a nice soft to give the ultra kind of reflections and best sharp finish you can at the end, basically the best gloss. So
I think I'm not sure if it's worth mentioning before we start holding up the products and pads. We've already gone through the fact that it's like using sandpaper, and wet sanding is something that we can use and can be that the heavy cut that we're going to discuss and show you in a moment. But what you tend to, if just for argument's sake, we've inspected the paintwork and we're under the impression that
it needs a heavy cut.
In order to restore it as best as possible and to deliver the most satisfaction to the customer, we would start out with a very heavy cut to deal with those deeper scratches that a lighter or medium polish aren't really going to cut out as fast and efficiently as we need them to. So for today's demonstration, we're going to
I'll have a few examples.
So shut up.
So as mentioned before, we use a lot of Auto Bright products here at Premier Group. They're really good, basically. Just everything they do is fantastic. So
I'll tell you what's a downside to this. The point of this was to be able to show you guys.
Yes,
but
it might be.
The image seems to be a little bit blurred.
We might have to have a little check on this next time.
Okay.
However, if you can't read this, you probably can't. If I hold it close, it's still not probably visible. But this is the heavy cut polish. This is what you would use on your first stage of your 3-stage polishing, as in Nathan's example. We need a heavy cut, heavy compound to remove the deepest of defects that we can, basically. So in simple terms, again, why Auto Bright are great, it's dead simple. Anyone can kind of, like I say, anyone can pick up a bottle and use it, but it's easy to understand at least. This is saying on here, cut 8, gloss 3. So back on that example we said about it's kind of like liquid sandpaper. It's gonna 8 out of 10 is I should say as well. It's pretty heavy stuff, that is. It's gonna remove a lot of defects. But the gloss 3, it's not gonna leave the best finish. You need to follow up with, you know, a medium compound, something to refine it to get better. Just like sanding a piece of wood, say, you always go to a higher grit to get that better finish afterwards.
As we've mentioned, I said again. John's gonna
He's gonna love it. He's watching.
So we mentioned in a previous video, and because of nerves, I don't know if Matt's just mentioned it, but with most products, whether you use Auto Bright, Menzona, Cartec, Maguire's, high street there's products in
Rupes.
Anyway, most products that you use, reputable companies tend to use a colour code system, and as much as you don't have to necessarily stick to them. Once you've gained a bit of experience, you might be able to dabble with one polish with a different type of pad, but that's something that we could go into on a different day. So what we've got here these are 2 pads. These are the same, but obviously of different sizes, and these are a lot stiffer for one than the other pads are, and these are to use with the Auto Bright's heavy cut that we've got here. And what you do obviously is, you know, you're going to apply it to the pad, and then the pad is going to be rotating on the paintwork. So as Matt's highlighted earlier, if you imagine that what you've created is an abrasive surface here that you're then going to be spinning and kind of sanding away at the surface to cut deeply using the heavy cut polish. Now what the heavy polish is going to achieve is cutting deep enough to remove the scratches. But what the downside to it, and the reason why you're going to be following up with other polishes, is because I think the best way to explain it is you're going to be scratching the surface to remove scratches. So the end result, if just for argument's sake, you use this on a section of the panel, and you can see that the scratches have gone, but now you've got a more dulled paintwork, maybe a swirly paintwork from where this has been spinning across the surface. So that's when we would move on to the next product.
So this is a next step process, Enrich. So as we mentioned, the cut and gloss levels, you'll follow up the heavy compound with their green compound again. So open those pads.
Oh yeah, I can't keep up there.
So again, a bit blurry, but what this one is saying is cut 5, gloss 8. Now, to a lot of people, this is about as far as they go. You know, if you're talking 8 out of 10 on gloss. It's going to look really, really nice. It's going to look pretty damn good at the end of using this one. It's a fantastic product. But again, they have their corresponding pads that go with this. Green to match them. Again, both sizes are available.
Yeah, I've got a small one here.
So sometimes you obviously need to use smaller pads because you want to get into a smaller area where this thing is just physically too big to fit. So you need something a bit smaller to get into nice areas, usually around bumper corners and stuff like that.
So yeah, you've used then a medium abrasive, a less coarse liquid abrasive on the medium pad, and what you'll have achieved is removing the scratches that you've probably put in using the heavier cut. Using the medium, the corresponding pad for each respective polish, just to demonstrate. Obviously, I just highlighted how stiff the heavy cut pads can be. So just to show you the green pad in comparison to the orange pad, if I apply pressure, the green pad becomes that's the difference between the two. You've got a softer pad to use with a softer and finer polish. And from this explanation now, moving on to the finer polish, you probably already understand where we're going with this, but we're going to do it anyway for the sake of the video.
So, quite accurately named, final finish. It's the finish.
That's exactly what it says on the tin.
Cut to gloss 10. You know, this is not going to remove much, but what it will do is remove any potential tiny little marks left in the paint you might have had from the medium compounds. 9 out of 10 times you don't need to go to the third one. However, we would say it's worth it because it does give that extra pop to the paint. It makes it look absolutely fantastic. And again, even softer pads come with this one as well, all colour coded. So that's a black liquid, or like a very dark purple one. I think it might be when I pour it out. But they come with a super soft black pad. And again, in Nathan's example, you'll probably have to show the small pads.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're now going from green to black, following the colour coding system. And these two, you'll see once again, you've got the softer pad being the black pad. So this is less harsh on the surface with the finer polish. It's going to contour more to the surface. The finer polish has got less abrasives in it, so you're going to end up with that nice glossy finish as Matt's just described.
Yeah. And as well, the other important part when it comes to doing your polishing as well is panel wipe. So where this comes into play is you would use this, so once you've removed your polishing, or even to sometimes help remove the polish itself if there's a bit of stubborn bit left over, what panel wipe will do is it's to remove any kind of oils or anything left behind from that polish. So when you've done your section, wipes down, wipe it down again with panel wipe. So when you get your inspection lights out to look at the work you've just achieved from that polishing section, it's going to remove anything which was, you know, what's the word?
Mask the
mask the true finish of what you've achieved.
If you essentially anything that's sitting on the surface, if you've got a scratch, I don't know how's best to describe this really, but if you've got any scratches on the surface, each of these being a scratch, for example, anything on the surface that's sitting inside each of those scratches could be filling the scratch, and oils tend to be, especially when you finish polishing, they tend to be quite.
We did make a very crude image.
We're not going to show you the image that I did because it's absolutely terrible.
I can use an example here. If you say that this line is your clear coat surface,
I hope you're going somewhere good with this one. I'm going to trust you.
I'm going to try and describe what we're doing here. I might even show it for a joke because it's quite funny actually.
Blue piece.
If you imagine a scratch in your clear coat, is like a little V come down like this, and a deeper scratch will come down a lot further. Once you've kind of brought your clear coat level down, you might remove the smaller ones just there, but there might be some oils slightly hiding and filling that last one up because you've not removed them enough yet. That's where the panel wipe comes in. Spray and wipe it down.
It's going to essentially
test as long to see what you're, you know.
It leaves you. This is the kind of product that you'll be using before applying wax sealants and coatings.
Yeah, it makes a
which incidentally is what our next video is going to be about, guys.
It is.
But by using the panel wipe, you're removing anything on the surface and leaving it clinically clean is probably the best way to, which is what you want before you apply any sealant or any protection whatsoever. But as Matt was just trying to explain, you want to make sure, especially before moving on to that next step, that the paintwork is as pristine condition as you're hoping to achieve for, which will give you an opportunity then just to inspect your own work and go back if you need to to get it to where it should be.
Yeah, that's a nice simple rundown of paint correction. There's obviously a lot more techniques and things go into it. We don't really want to make it sound too easy, you know.
There are dangers with it. I mean, what you've got to bear in mind, I think, and again, this brings me back to, as much as the things that I learned along the way before I started here at Premier Group, I'm aware that paint shouldn't be heated too much. There's you don't want to do that. You can leave paint looking distorted. You could leave it looking cloudy if you've overheated it, but not enough to burn through the paint. But that's another risk in itself. You can, by using abrasives, you could literally sand a layer of paint away, clear coat down to the base coat. These are the dangers that you face doing this, especially if you were to do it at home or what have you.
Yeah.
I think another thing worth mentioning as well, just before we get too far away from the pads and the products, I mean, if for example you want clean pads and you want clean cloths,
yes, definitely,
everything needs to be clean and ready to go. If, just for argument's sake, your finishing pad, the black pad in this for example, if you were to drop that face down on the floor and it picks up a bit of grit, and you don't notice, and you go down the system, you go orange, you go green, and then you go and it's looking great, and then you follow up with that
you'll literally ruin what you've done.
You could end up going a few paces back. You could end up cutting deeper than any of the scratches were originally as well. So staying on top of your pads, keeping them as clean as possible, is always key when it comes to the best result.
Wash them after use. Keep them in their bags.
If you can, or have somewhere designated to store them if you're going to be building your detailing arsenal.
Yeah. So just to double back a little bit, you know, why might you want to correct your paint? I mean, I always like to say your vehicle, your car, bike, whatever it may be. You
can make your car look brand new. You know, and you deserve a new car, even if it's the car that you've already got.
Make it better. Get it better than the day you bought it. Chances are, well, I'll say chances, nearly in all cases, when you get your car detailed, it's going to look better than the day you bought it. It will look better than when it came off the forecourt, because we can't name drop companies, but we know they all do it. You know, the poor guys who have to keep the forecourt clean and stuff, they don't use the best of methods in some cases, and you might go and buy a brand new car and you think,
hey, well, this is, I mentioned this in the first video, it's, to some
but
people,
it's in the eye of the beholder, I'd say.
No, it is. Cleaning a car it's the eye of the beholder, if we're gonna use that phrase. It's down to your own personal preference, and all we're doing with these videos and what detailers do nationwide, worldwide, in fact, is they deeply care and they've got a passion for clean cars. That perfect finish. I can't explain it. It's just it's something that I'm passionate about, and I really like it. And I feel like everybody, if you were to buy a brand new car, your paintwork is going to be pristine. It's freshly painted, and for it to be 10 years later to have been
lackluster, you know,
a sponge in a bucket, and you've dragged all that dirt off to wash it, and you do that repeatedly, let's say once a week, once a month for 10 years, the car's going to look faded. It's going to look, you haven't put protection on, the paintwork could end up oxidised, there's going to be scratches in there, and all of these things will distract anybody's eyes from how beautiful paintwork can look.
Some colours look beautiful, it's a word to use. Pearl paint, we've got a lovely Clio downstairs. I think it's one of the nicest colours I've ever seen when it's in the sunlight. It looks absolutely fantastic.
Well, we've give a shout out to Charlie as well, who's trusted us this week with his and as much as there's people out there that don't like French cars, I'm a Peugeot guy. That's just lost me followers, but whatever. But yeah, he's left his RC's head with us this week, and the paintwork on that is stunning. It's a white base coat with a pearlescent coat on top, and then lacquered over the top of that. And for example, when the lacquer has any of these defects in it, it's distracting you from
just how nice it looks.
How pretty the paint looks. You know what I mean? And he's come back and visited us today just to check on the work and to make a few adjustments to the service that we're providing him. And he's exactly what a customer that we cherish and we enjoy working with, because he's really excited to get the car back, and he's so happy with what we've achieved so far. I mean, I forgot his name now. I don't even know if we should be naming people, so I'm going to call him the M3 guy. We had a chap who bought us. What mark was it? Was it a Mark?
It was the third generation. I can't remember.
Think it was.
It's the E90 something.
Either way,
92 maybe.
I think it is the Mark III. You've got this standard. I mean, BMW have got very fancy front bumpers, I think is the way to put it. There's a lot of, there's no very simple, vast panel, painted, simple, done with a little curve in it or anything. You've got a few integral little panels that have also been painted, and they're very unique, aren't they, in the way they look. But then you've got the M3 of whatever mark it was now. I can't remember. It's a while ago. I do apologise.
Yeah.
I've got photos of it actually, but I'm not going to waste time looking for it.
People watching it was one with the V8.
V8.
That's what we can remember.
But the difference, the subtle difference that you see from the front end of this BMW is the bulge in the centre of to accommodate obviously the V8 engine. And it's that. But he was another. He seemed really grateful. He was really. He left us a cracking review.
He did.
Nice one, cheers, dude. But that was another car that I enjoyed polishing up because again the paintwork was. It was metallic paintwork, wasn't it? Again,
it was.
It
was blue.
Just like we did a Panamera 4S as well, and both of these cars came to us, and at first the paintwork looked like it was just a gloss black paint, and once you've cleared all of those defects that are between you and the base coat and the pearlescent or metallic coat that's in there. The customer was shocked. He didn't realise that it was metallic when he got it back.
You can see all the fleck in there and everything.
But
the car.
That was a cracking job.
But yeah, to summarise what we're saying is obviously we're very passionate about doing this, and a lot of people want their cars to look their best. I'm a believer in your vehicle is generally the second most expensive investment in your life. You want it to look good, and again, if it's not just I got this car because it gets me from A to B. If it's something you loved, you wanted that model, that specific one in that colour. Detailing is for you, come and visit us, see what we can do for you. We can always do something to work to anyone's budget and get that car looking and how you would want it to look basically. Go to town on it, do the best we can.
It's what we do.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah, I think we've run out of time.
Yeah, we are. We're kind of trying to keep these within half an hour. I mean, I think we're allowed to go over by a couple of minutes due to the fact that whether we went live or not, we'll find out when we rewatch the video.
We're a few minutes late, but
yeah. So next week we're going to be talking about, like I mentioned earlier, protection for your paintwork. We're not going to go into too many details now, but you've got a few different types of protection.
Yep.
You've got your waxes, you've got your synthetic sealants, and you've got what's kind of really leading the industry at the moment and is really spoken about is ceramic coatings. And obviously an evolution from that, or I don't know if that's the right word. We've got graphene coatings.
Yeah,
is something that's come about.
Thing that everyone's talking about.
So at the moment. Next week we're going to be talking about that. The advantages, disadvantages,
benefits.
All of these of different products. Yeah. We might bring a couple up, or I might bring a couple in from home as well. I've got a bit of a weekend warrior arsenal in the garage. So. But if anybody does have any questions, or if there's anything specific that you would like covering, I mean. As Matt said, you can speak to us directly. You can approach us. If there's anything on your car that you want us to look at, then obviously you can come in and we can do that. But feel free to leave comments in the comment section, and we can either get back to you, or if it's a topic that both of us agree on, we could cover that in another video. So for now,
thank you for watching again. Cheers for joining in and bearing with us for going live a little bit later today as well. But hope you enjoyed it.
Nice one. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.